Good day, everyone. I am Monica Gabriel Jason R. from BSC 3-2, and today I will be discussing the topic entitled Concept on Crisis Management. But first, let us know the objectives of my discussion. First one is to learn and define crisis management. Two, distinguish emergency, crisis, and disaster with real-life scenarios. Three, understand the essential elements of crisis management, as well as theories on crisis management. Four, know the purpose and principle of proper crisis management. Five, what are the objectives of crisis management. And lastly, know the pros and cons of crisis management. To start on, let us define the word crisis. Crisis. The term crisis is derived from the Greek word krisis, which means to separate, a turning point decision in a process of an affair or a series of events. Crisis is a period of disorganization, period of upset during which people attempts at arriving at solution of problems. It is a crucial or decisive point or situation, a turning point, an unstable condition as in political, social, or economic. So, studying crises are important because events like wars, terrorism, industrial accidents, and environmental disasters can often be avoided, but when they do happen, they have serious impacts on society, crime, and justice systems. These crises can disrupt communities, causing crime, abuse, and violence to increase. Crises often make social inequalities worse, with disadvantaged groups being affected the most. Studying this crisis helps to find weaknesses in society and laws, which can be improved to better protect the vulnerable peoples. So, next word is management. Now, let us define the word management. Management is the coordination and administration of tasks to achieve a goal. Management is a process of getting work or the task done that is required for achieving the goals of an organization in an efficient and effective manner. So, management is important during a crisis because it helps to make sure the resources, people, and plans are organized to reduce the crisis effects. The next word is crisis management. Now, let us define the word crisis management. The term crisis management refers to the expert handling of a crisis or emergency with the aim of eliminating danger or damage, especially on the part of the government. So, crisis management is important because it helps organizations, government, and communities handle unexpected events that could cause harm or problems. Good crisis management makes sure that resources and actions are quickly organized to reduce damage, keep people safe, and lessen the impacts of the crisis. When there is a crisis, there is always an emergency. Now, let us define the word emergency. The term emergency is derived from Latin word emergentia, which means leaping or plugging. Emergency is a sudden condition or a state of affairs calling for an immediate action. The key characteristic of an emergency is the need for quick action to address the threat and ensure safety, often involving emergency services like police, fire departments, and medical personnel. Now, I will be discussing the distinction between emergency, crisis, and disaster. If the situation is still controlled and the responses given is for the purpose of containing the situation from getting out of control, then it is just an emergency. For example, fire, chemical accidents, road crash accidents. The best example of this is the emergency fire at Star City, an amusement park in Pasay Metro Manila, Philippines, occurred at midnight on October 2, 2009. Initial investigation determined the cause as arson, citing traces of gasoline detected in the remains of the building. While if the situation is already beyond normal control, what is happening is already a crisis. For example, human-induced crises like hostage taking, kidnapping, bombing, and public demonstrations. The best example of this is Manila hostage crisis. Happened at Rizal Park, Manila, Philippines on August 23, 2010. On the other hand, if the effects of the crisis can no longer be controlled even by its author, it is now a disaster. For example, earthquake, typhoon, and volcanic eruptions. The best example of this is the Typhoon Yolanda. Typhoon Yolanda is a Category 5 super typhoon with the international name of Haiyan, struck the Philippines on November 8, 2013. Upon making landfall, Yolanda devastated portion of Southeast Asia, particularly the Philippines. Now, let us jump to the essential elements of crisis management. The first one is incident management. This refers to an act of continuing the situation within a certain level, mostly through law. When an incident happens, it's important to quickly identify the problem and gather resources to respond effectively, often involving police, emergency workers, and other agencies. The next one is consequence management. This act focuses on mitigating the adverse effect that may be brought about by an incident. So, the aim of consequence management is to limit the lasting damage, support recovery, and put steps in place to prevent or reduce the impact of future crises. Good consequence management is crucial in helping people, organizations, and communities heal and get back to normal after a major disruptions. And now, let's talk about the theories on crisis management. There are two theories on crisis management. The first one is the crisis management model. This argues that successfully diffusing a crisis requires understanding of how a crisis diffusing be handled before it occurred. According to the main proponents, Gonzalez, Herrero, and Pratt, a four phases crisis management model process should be used to handle crisis, and this process includes number one, issue management, number two, planning prevention, three, the crisis, and lastly, the post-crisis. The next theory is the structure functional system theory. This theory proposed that the provision of information to an organization in time of crisis is critical in ensuring the effective crisis management. This theory highlights the importance of an efficient information networks consisting organization communication. So, when applied to crisis management, this theory emphasizes how different elements of a system, such as government agencies, emergency services, communities work together to respond to and recover from crisis. Next one is the purpose of crisis management. Salvare vitas, meaning to save lives. The main purpose or the main goal of crisis management. And now, let's talk about the principle of crisis management. To achieve successful negotiation, there must be a need to leave on the part of the hostage taker, and there must be a threat or force by the authorities. To contain and negotiate, protect the innocent from harm, allow the passage of time so that the perpetrators can be reasoned with through a negotiation, allow the passage of time so that the response force can evaluate the situation, gather information, explore alternative and formulate plans of action. Rely on continuous flow of information from all sources, pressure the perpetrators into abandoning their position. And lastly, receive, analyze, and disseminate all informations, prepare for a rapidly escalating events. And now, let's talk about the objectives of crisis management. First objective of crisis management is to resolve without further incident. Next one is safety of all participants. Next is apprehension of all perpetrators and accomplishment of the task within the framework of current community standards. And now, here are the pros and cons of crisis management. First, let's talk about the pros. First one is safeguard reputation. Next one is to demonstrate accountability. Next is to prevent escalation, showcase commitment, and lastly, strengthens relationship. And now, let's talk about the cons. First one is resource incentive. Next one is potential for mistakes. Next is to damage the reputation if not handled well. Next is high pressure environment. And lastly, public scrutiny. Before I end this discussion, I would like to leave you a quote by Benjamin Franklin: by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Thank you.